It's now time to move on over to a favorite segment of many on this show, Salam India, and that is called In Dialogue. You can say that again. The host here is famous Mr. Bharat Bhargava. Today, Sir Bhargava will dictate to us the true insight meaning of Ramayana, the classic epic. Let's see.
नमस्कार, मैं हूं भरत भार्गव। इन डायलॉग के कार्यक्रम में आपका स्वागत है। रामनवमी के शुभ अवसर पर आपको हार्दिक बधाई। मैं हमारे आज के और अगले अंक में आपसे रामायण से संबंधित चर्चा करूंगा। रामायण का संदर्भ है तो वार्तालाप तो हिंदी में होना चाहिए था, किंतु इस विचार से कि मेरी व्याख्या और विनती अधिक से अधिक दर्शकगण तक पहुंच सके, मैं अधिकांशतः इंग्लिश का ही प्रयोग करूंगा। I know so many of our viewers, especially those who grew up in India, may have far more knowledge on this subject than I do, but my hope is to reach those less exposed to Ramayana. So, there are two great Indian epics, Mahabharata and Ramayana. Mahabharata is connected with Lord Krishna and the hero of Ramayana is Lord Rama. Both are considered to be incarnations of Lord Vishnu. These epics are in story form, but they are much more than stories. Ramayana presents the teachings of ancient sages, incorporating ideals in all our relationships, such as ideal father, ideal brother, ideal wife, ideal king, and so forth. Ramayana has 50,000 lines, and the condensed compilation of the story that I plan to narrate cannot capture its full glory. So, I will simply say overall that for Hindus, Ramayana is the ultimate holy book in its ability to inspire love, devotion, purity of heart, joy of sacrifice, truth, justice, compassion, patience, service, wisdom, vitality, and pure goodness. Ramayana contains no lectures in being virtuous. Each character of Ramayana simply lives goodness with grace, elegance, and spontaneity. One can pick any character as his hero or her heroine and get an ocean of inspiration for day-to-day living. Also, before presenting this story, I would like to give the context of Ramayana, which I hope would be particularly helpful to those who were raised here. First, about the pronunciations of many words associated with Ramayana. In Sanskrit and Hindi, unless the ending consonant of a word is specially meant to be halant or unstressed, it is given the same emphasis as others. This is why when spelt in English, you will see the letter A added to the end of many words. Unfortunately, it often leads people to overcorrect the pronunciation. For example, we have all heard people saying Ramayana, Mahabharata, Rama, Ashoka. They are actually meant to be Ramayana, Mahabharata, Rama, and Ashoka. During my discussion, therefore, I will pronounce such words according to the incorrect but common day-to-day practice as though last letter was indeed halant, which means I will say Ram instead of Rama and Ramayana instead of Ramayana. Speaking of that, in our normal conversation, as you know, we would always say Ramchandra ji, Sita ji, Bharat ji, Hanuman ji, etc. But for brevity here, I will try keeping myself in check and say Ram, Sita, Bharat, and Hanuman. The word Ramayana is a combination of Ram and Ayan, meaning going to or advancing. So, it overall means Ram's journey. Historically, you would be intrigued to know that Ram, Krishna, as well as Buddha came at different times within the first millennium BCE, and the great sage Valmiki, being a contemporary of Ram and having met him, is the one who wrote the original version of Ramayana during this period. Parts of the manuscripts written on leaves were discovered in Nepal as late as during the 11th century CE. That Adi Kavya, or the original epic, has been since adapted and translated into over 300 known versions. Quite a few of the adaptations of Ramayana are in Sanskrit, including a short version in Mahabharata. Then there are many versions in different Indian languages, including alphabetically Assamese, Bengali, Gujarati, Kannada, Kashmiri, Konkani, Malayalam, Marathi, Odia, Tamil, Telugu, Urdu, and out of alphabetic order is one of the most popular ones, Awadhi, close to Hindi, the Ramcharitmanas written by Tulsidas ji. Also, there are versions of Ramayana in the languages of many other countries such as Burmese, Chinese, Indonesian Bahasa, Lao, Malaysian, Nepalese, Filipino, Thai, Tibetan, and Cambodian. Oh, speaking of Cambodia, many of you may have heard of Angkor Wat. Angkor Wat means temple city, in which the Kambuj word Nakar comes from Nagar. Built 900 years ago, Angkor Wat is considered to be the largest religious monument in the world. For hundreds of years, the temple's ruins were buried deep within jungles inhabited by wild animals. It was specifically discovered in 1860 and then excavated and restored. Here is my cherished painting of the beautiful Angkor Wat. It would interest you to know that the walls of the corridor around the temple have large stone carvings of scenes from stories of Ramayana and Mahabharata. In terms of religions, there are Ramayans belonging to Buddhists, Jains, and Mapila Muslims. Next point. In the past, I have had problem with some of the events in Ramayana that are supernatural, or some of the characters who have supernatural powers. I have accepted these parts as symbolism that the poet has used for making a point or emphasis. Ramayana also has Rakshasas and demons. I assume that refers to evil people. Let me also mention a flip side to it. While Tulsidas ji's Ramayana talks about monkeys, which even includes Hanumanji, one of the most popular characters of Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana says nothing about monkeys. He used the term Vanar, referring to tribals who dwelled in dense forests, or one, the place called Dandakvan in the kingdom of Kishkinda. We can call them Vanchar, but they were human beings. Another quick aside, it is not commonly known that Raja Dashrath and Kaushalya had a beautiful daughter named Shanta much before Ram was born. Raja Rompad, the husband of Kaushalya's elder sister Virishini, who had no children, saw Shanta, adored her, and asked Dashrath if they could adopt their daughter. Such was the character of Dashrath. He consulted with Kaushalya but quickly agreed to do so, even at a time when they had only one child. Shanta grew up to become a beautiful princess of Angdesh. Another important point to know is that while Ramayana has 7 books, only books 2 through 6 are Valmiki's original writings. Book 7, the Uttarkand, with its Agni Pariksha episode, was added by some well-meaning poets who thought that would enhance Ram's stature. They were wrong. That episode is not consistent with Ram's character. Thank God Tulsidas ji did not include that in Ramcharitmanas. I'd like to tell you an anecdote about Tulsidas ji that goes something like this. Tulsidas ji was an ardent devotee of Ram, and he was always reciting Ram's story when he was in Kashi or Varanasi. Tulsidas ji understood Hanumanji lived there in spirit. During his communication with Hanumanji, Tulsidas ji expressed his desire to see Ram. Hanumanji told Tulsidas to go to Chitrakoot where he would receive darshan. One morning, as Tulsidas ji was making chandan or sandalwood paste for the pilgrims at the bank of Ganga, Ramchandra ji and Lakshman ji came there in disguise of ordinary people, and Ramchandra ji asked Tulsidas ji to give him some chandan. Hanumanji thought that Tulsidas ji may not recognize, so he sat on top of a nearby tree in the form of a parrot and said, "Chitrakoot ke ghat par bhai santan ki bheed, Tulsidas chandan ghise tilak det Raghubir." Lord Ram himself put chandan on Tulsidas ji's and on his own forehead and then disappeared. Tulsidas ji was inspired to create Hindi version of Ramayana. He went to his hometown Ayodhya, and on the Ram Navami day in 1687, he started writing Ramcharitmanas. My final comment is this. I have known Ramayana closely since early childhood, as many of you have, watched movie Ram Raj in 1947 and witnessed, even participated in Ram Leelas, and always wondered whether the violence such as Ram, who is an epitome of virtue, killing Ravan and many other supposed demons, is justifiable. The open thesis I'd like to submit to you is as follows. The greatest gift nature has given to human beings is their free will. We could have been like plants or animals who were nearly 100% programmed for what we do. But no, we got this amazing gift of mind. A vast majority of people go about their business doing good things. Yet at one extreme of the bell curve, there are people who knowingly do bad things and hurt fellow human beings. What do you do about them? This is where verse 7 and 8 of chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita is worth pondering. In it, Lord Krishna says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sanstapnarthaya sambhavani yuge yuge. Meaning, whenever and wherever there is decline in righteousness and the predominant rise of irreligion, O Bharat, at that time I descend myself to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreant, as well as to establish the principles of religion. I myself appear millennium after millennium for the protection of good. By the way, I have used the word righteous as the frequently used word for dharma. Actually, there is no single word with precise meaning of dharma. It has been loosely translated as religion also. It is not that either. Religion is about relationship with God, although everything is related with God. I believe that if people worship fellow human beings as their dharma, they would have God wrapped around their pinky. The word dharma actually comes from the Sanskrit root dhr, meaning to hold, maintain or keep, representing what is established or firm, meaning law in the cultural sense. To me, the word law is also inadequate. Dharma is duty, the obligation of each individual toward fellow human beings, whether dictated by cultural norms, ideals, or guided by one's own good conscience. Although said in Mahabharata, the above verses are also the basis of Ram's incarnation. The tyranny of Raman, the king of Lanka, knew no bounds. He and his subjects, the Rakshasas or demons, were evil, and Ram took birth as a Kshatriya prince to provide protection by annihilating these dusht people. As a whole, Ramayana depicts the victory of good over evil. Okay, finally, so you heard me say Bharat in the first verse. It does not refer to Bharat as in India, but to Arjun, meaning the descendant of Bharat. Of course, not the same Bharat as in Ramayana. This was the son of Dushyant and Shakuntala and the ancestor of Pandavas. He was the emperor of Bharatvarsh, which included the entire Indian continent and parts of Central Asia and beyond, and was known for harmony, wealth, and prosperity. The present day name Bharat has been derived from Bharatvarsh. See you during the next episode when I will present the story of Ramayana, especially for our younger viewers. Namaskar.